It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. A shallow voice spoke inside his head. It was a bright Saturday morning. The birds were chirping in the skies, filling up the airwaves with their melodious songs as they flew happily in circles. Alex woke up a little bit later than usual, especially considering that it was a Sunday, his favorite day. Alex always looked forward to Sundays. Because he could have the most fun out of all the days of the week. He sat upright on his bed, struggling to keep his eyes wide open. He must have had one hell of a night. His eyelids were heavy, as if they were loaded with tiny bags of cement. Alex lazily lifted his right hand and rubbed his eyes, slowly looking from right to left. To his bedside desk, picking up his glasses and putting them on. Everything now looked crisper, and a smile lit up his face as he imagined all the fun activities that awaited him. "Mom, I'm up," Alex shouted in a happy tone, calling out to his mother, Loraine, who was already turning the corner into his bedroom. "Hello, my sunshine. How was your morning?" She responded with a beaming smile as she walked into the room. She was just as excited as he was. Loraine loved her son more than anything else in her life. "I am good, Mom. How are you doing?" Alex asked, genuinely curious to know. The two of them exchanged greetings before Alex finally raised his arms like he usually did, and without any questions, his mom Loraine knew what it meant. She went over to the corner of the room, grabbed his wheelchair, and brought it closer to the bed before helping her son get on top of it. Alex had cerebral palsy, a condition that left him confined to a wheelchair for the better part of his life. He lived through this disability with the help of his mother. After a delicious breakfast, the two left the house at around 10 a.m., their day already planned. First, they would go to the nearby playground, where Alex would meet up with a few of his friends and play. They would then leave for lunch later in the day to his favorite restaurant, a locally owned restaurant serving the best wings in town. Before capping off the day at the theaters, everything seemed perfect, and they were beyond excited. To his surprise, Alex was the first to arrive, but his friends came a few minutes later. The next couple of hours went well, and all the kids had the time of their lives. They played on the swings, and they played with their ball, just being kids. But as we know, all good things must come to an end. "Excuse me, do you kids live here?" an anonymous woman asked. At first, the kids continued playing and having fun, oblivious to the fact that she was speaking to them. But when she asked for the second time, they had to turn around and see what she wanted. "Hey, how may I help you?" Ian, one of Alex's friends, asked. Ian was also a disabled kid. He suffered from rickets at an early age, and as a result, he had bow-legged feet. "Do you know that this playground is reserved only for residents of this apartment right across the street? Huh? Who permitted you to play here? Do you have any adults with you that I can speak to?" the rude lady asked. By that point, all of them knew what she was going on. The lady was called Karen. She was a Caucasian female, probably in her late 30s or mid-40s. She was far from appealing to look at, and her character only worsened things. From the way she spoke, it was clear that she had zero respect for the innocent children who were trying to have a good time. And she viewed them as lesser beings, all of them beneath her, like she was some goddess whose words were to be taken as the golden rule. "Hello, is everything okay here, Alex?" Loraine asked, having moved closer when she saw the commotion. "Are you the parent to these strange kids?" the rude woman asked. "Strange? What do you mean by that?" "Yes, I am in charge of these children, and they are not harming anybody. They are just a bunch of kids trying to play and have a great time. Leave them alone, please," Loraine responded after a short silence. She was clearly shaken by the harsh words that had come out of that woman's foul mouth. but nothing could prepare her for what she would hear next. "You have to leave right now. This playground is reserved for residents of this apartment building only. This playground is for normal kids, not those. My child has been peeping through the window all morning, scared to come out and play because of your kids. So please do me a favor and find somewhere else to play. You know, somewhere you belong." The rude woman spoke. It was a tough pill to swallow. None of them could believe what had just gone through their ears. Loraine stood perplexed to the ground. Her heart rate spiked. She could feel the anger and rage boiling within her, ready to burst out, and she clenched her fists tighter and harder, praying to the gods to give her the strength to act right in front of her son, to set an example that she would be proud of in the future. This was the first time Alex had seen his mom so angry and frustrated. But above all, she was devastated from within, and he could tell. He moved closer to his mom and held her hand, and immediately she felt better and more relaxed. Without speaking to the rude woman, Loraine and her son bid goodbye to their friends, who were also leaving, and they all returned to their respective homes. That night, Loraine struggled to get some sleep. She turned around in bed, crying until her eyes were red and sore. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered the harsh words that had come from Karen's mouth, and it was like someone driving a sharp dagger right into her stomach, slowly turning it and ripping her guts to shreds. That is how bad and painful she felt. A train of thoughts ran through her mind. She asked herself why someone could be such a bitch, especially to little innocent children. She found herself cussing the whole night, trying to find peace. What did she do to deserve this? Had she done enough to protect her baby boy from the world and other people like that wretched witch? She asked herself these and more questions. It was hard to fathom how cold the earth could be, but eventually she made peace with herself, knowing that she had to be strong for her son. On the other hand, Alex was a little stung at the moment, but more than anything, he was pissed off. He wondered what he had done to deserve this treatment, but in the end, he remembered everything his mom had taught him. Over the coming weeks and months, the rude rich woman somehow discovered where Alex lived with his mom. She would pretend she was going out for a jog with her dogs and spend a little bit more time outside their house, peeping through their window, trying to see how they lived. She could not understand why what she termed an abomination lived so close to her. She could not believe that she shared social amenities with people that were way below her social and financial class. At first, Loraine and Alex thought it was just a coincidence that they would see her so often after the incident. But soon they realized she was stalking them, even when they went to the stores to get some groceries. One evening, Loraine decided to confront her to see why she was doing all the extra stuff, especially because she was so interested in her business. "Why are you doing all this? Why do you hate us so much? I do not think we have done anything to you ever before. My son and I do not even know who you are. You need to start minding your business, lady. Leave me and my son alone. Do you understand?" Loraine said to her in the middle of the grocery store. The incident turned a couple of heads, but almost everyone seemed to agree with Loraine. It was as if they knew how terrible of a human being the rich Caucasian woman was. Her bad behavior was not limited to Loraine, but to everyone else she deemed lower than her. She would exhibit her snappy, repulsive character to the cashiers, janitors, and even disabled children. It was indeed a horrific sight. "What are you going to do about it, you peasant? Do not make me call the cops and sue you for harassment. And for the record, never talk to me again unless I speak to you first," the rude lady said, making a disrespectful clicking sound with her tongue, before walking out of the grocery store. She was the most arrogant and self-centered human being one could ever meet. "Mom, why do you think she hates us so much?" Alex asked his mom, genuinely interested to know why. He could not wrap his head around it. I do not know, son. She has her problems. There are good and bad people in this world, and horrible people like her. I want you to promise me that you will always be respectful. Alex, I want you to promise me that you will set a good example for those around you. Can you do that for me, baby? Loraine asked Alex. Yes, Mom, I promise. To be the best version of myself I can be. Alex responded. The two of them went on their shopping as usual before making their way home. As soon as Loraine had finished unloading the groceries from the back of the car, she received a phone call and was informed that she was urgently needed back at the hospital. It was on a Saturday, one of her days off, but she cared about helping people. Loraine quickly made her way to the hospital. She worked as a nurse. Upon arrival, she found that the atmosphere was hectic. Everything was moving so fast. And as per protocol, she knew it was most likely a gruesome accident. Loraine quickly checked in and started helping out immediately, unloading the victims from the ambulances as they came in. Little did she know that the next victim she would see was someone that would hit so close to home. On one of the stretchers lay the lifeless body of the rude Karen, completely drenched in blood from the head to her thighs. Her legs had been entirely crushed in the accident that supposedly reduced her expensive car to a mangled wreck. She could feel a tear flowing down her cheek. She did not love the woman who had been rude and disrespectful to her and her son from the start, but even she could not wish that on her worst enemy. The doctors said that she had survived miraculously, but now she had to be amputated if she was to stay longer and make it out alive. It was hard to believe. That night, Loraine explained to her son everything that had happened. 2 weeks later, the rude woman awoke from her coma. The doctors explained what had to be done for her to survive. She also found out that Loraine was the nurse in charge of taking care of her. She could not believe it. She tried to scream, but her voice was lost. She watched in disbelief as tears of pain, bitterness, and regret flowed down her cheeks to her hospital gown. The moral of the story is you should never be a bitch, or life will punish you.